daughter, Mandy, that at the age of 20, 2 weeks before her wedding to James, she got sick and never fully recovered. Had to quit work and had a massive change in lifestyle, living in chronic pain, unable to function like normal people would function. And so we prayed, went to every doctor, did everything that you're all gonna recommend, and all 12 of you that know that specific something that she needs. Dear God, thank you for your heart. I promise you, we've heard that 50 times and we've tried it 50 times. Promise you. Doctor after doctor, prayed, wait, and believe. Since then, 2 of my other daughters with some of the same genetic issues have struggled as well. And so I've unloaded on God so many times. If I told you the depths of the cries of my heart, you might even be like, really, Pastor, you did that? Yes, really, Pastor did that. All the way down to kind of like, and this is rude and prideful, but God, do you know what my family's doing for you compared to other families? Some of them aren't doing anything, and you seem to be showing up there, and I know it sounds bad, but look what we're doing, God. Where are you, God? I know you can, God. Why haven't you, God? This isn't fair, God. And then you know what we do? We hang on, and we go back and we worship one more time. One more time. One more time. One more time. And we believe what we know Hannah learned, and that is this, that a waiting season is never a wasted season. A waiting season isn't a wasted season, that just because you don't see something doesn't mean that God's not doing something, that his Spirit is still working, that he is still good, that he hears the cries of your heart. A waiting season, for those of you that are waiting right now, it is not a wasted season. In Hannah's case, God hears the cries of her heart, and God gives her the desires of her heart. That may happen in your life, it may not. No matter what the outcome is, the goodness of God is not based on what we see or don't see. The goodness of God is simply based on who he is. In Hannah's case, this is what happened. They returned home to Ramah. When Elkanah slept with Hannah, that was after he apologized for that silly question. When Elkanah slept with Hannah, the Lord remembered her plea, and in due time, she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, for she said, I asked the Lord for him. And she learned very clearly that God's delays are not necessarily God's denials. Just because you don't see it in a moment doesn't mean that you're not gonna see it in your lifetime. And so in our family, as we continue to pray for our daughters, we'll unload on God, we'll tell him how we feel, and we will show up and worship once more. In the message series, Hope in the Dark, our worship pastors who've been writing a ton of great worship music wrote a song for Mandy's situation in particular, and then for our entire church. And the lyrics of the song still minister to me in a way that is impossible to describe. And I pray that they will bless someone here today who's in the middle of a waiting season. They came over to our house, arranged for Mandy and James to be there on that particular night, and took us out on the back porch to bless us with the song. And I want you to take a moment to internalize the lyrics, because in a moment, even if you're waiting, you're going to have a chance to worship. Not just for what you see, but for who God is. And so let the lyrics speak to your soul, and in a moment, let the cries of your heart touch the heart of God's.
I know
waiting today, remember He's still good. You can unload on God and continue to hold on to Him. We praise our God, not just for what we see, we praise Him for who He is. He is good. He is good. At all of our churches, if you're able and willing, would you mind standing to your feet just to prepare your hearts for worship? Mandy happens to be in this service with me as well as my other daughters. And I asked Mandy many times, would you change what you've been through if you could change it to go back to the way things were? Because Mandy's actually taken her pain and turned it really into a platform. And there are hundreds and hundreds of people I've encountered that have told me just how much her story has impacted them. She created a YouTube page that's got thousands of subscribers. She went and got a degree to help others to educate them with health. And in those who are going through chronic illness, she has turned her pain into a ministry for others. And I said, Mandy, would you change what you've been through if you'd lose the effectiveness you have now but could go back to the life that you had without pain? And she said, there's no part of me that would ever change it. She's recognizing that even though she's waiting for the answer to her prayer, the waiting is not wasted, that God is still working, that He's still good. I don't know who it would be at all of our churches today, but you might find yourself disappointed by God, maybe a little mad at Him. You feel like you've been hurt by God or disappointed. You're holding a grudge. I would invite you just to unload on Him. Tell Him from the depths of your heart, cry out in anguish and pain and tell Him how you feel. But then choose to continue to trust in Him. You might just tell Him, I'm not going to hold a grudge against you. What I wanted you to do and you didn't do, I choose to let that go. Though you didn't answer my prayer the way I wanted you to, God, I still choose to trust in you, not because of what I see, God, but because of who you are. I hope you'll understand this, that our God says He will never leave you. He will never forsake you. Our God is still here. Choose by faith to let Him back in. Let go of the hurt. Choose to trust